Bruce.
Hey, you're sideways, but you're looking good.
Yeah, you're sideways too, actually. Yes, if I do this, if I do this, I can see you, right?
Yes, likewise.
It looks like your everything above your eyes is just light. I think it's good, Bruce. I think it's good. Is it like, kind of that's where your mind is? Your mind's in the clouds. Your mind's in the light.
You could say it. You could say it's more, something more spiritual than that. I mean, my mind is in the clouds. My mind is in the cloud.
How have you been getting on, man? How have you been keeping yourself sane?
It's well, I'm used to spending a lot of time by myself, so that aspect of it isn't a particular problem. But I have a wife and a daughter, and we're all cooped up together 24/7 pretty much. So although they're out right now, my daughter's at the dentist, but my wife's working from home, via computer. So she at least has an income, which I don't have at the moment. But in general, we're getting along fine. Everybody would like to see it over with, of course, and it's hard on the kids. The young kids have it worst of all because there's all that energy that has nowhere to go, and there's no socializing. I mean, they have online or FaceTime play dates and stuff like that, but and they do pretty well with it, but it's not enough.
It's nothing like the real thing, is it?
It's hard for them. No.
It's nothing like getting out and climbing the trees.
Well, they're not. That doesn't happen too much in San Francisco, but but running around at least, and just laughing and goofing off and having company while you do it.
And are you finding that you're able to write, Bruce? Please say yes.
Actually, if you'd asked me that question a week ago, I would have said, I haven't written a song in 5 years. Well, actually, that isn't quite true. Maybe 3 years, but except for the instrumental pieces that make up the last album. But I just wrote 2 new songs, so good. I'm happy about that, and I can say yes truthfully.
Well,
yes, I'm writing. Man.
Well, that's good. That just came out of nowhere. What we we were hoovering one day, and
kind of like that. I mean, I've been keeping up my notebook, just jotting down ideas or images or whatever comes along as it passes, which is the way I've always operated. Mm-hmm. And once in a while, then I'll just be doing whatever, and an idea will come to me. I'm on a roll. One of the songs is called "I'm on a Roll." So I'm just sitting there thinking, I'm on a roll. I was thinking in spiritual terms, and I mean, obviously, I'm not on a roll financially or with my gambling career or anything like that. but it just, I thought, yeah, time takes its toll, but in my soul, I'm on a roll. And then all of a sudden, there was all this stuff started coming out. Right? And that's the way it's generally worked for me. I'll start writing something, then I'll look through the notebook to see what is in there that might apply, and stuff starts just to come together, and there it is, So. And
do you find that like you say you wrote on a roll, but then you said that you wrote 2 songs. I find this for myself anyway. As soon as I sort of crack the nut of one, it's like there's a handful of other ideas that were kind of close to being ready, that it sort of unlocks sometimes it can unlock a sort of handful of songs. And you're like, shit, that's they all fit together or whatever. Are you feeling like you ready to write another one type thing, or?
Well, I'd like to. I mean, I'd like to keep it going. Although, in practice, there'll probably be a gap now because there's 2 songs. But you're right. That's how it works. Once the channel's open, more stuff will come through for a little while anyway. They tend to go in pairs, or the last time I wrote a bunch of songs was for the album Bone on Bone, which came out a few years ago, and that worked like that. I had a fairly long gap where I hadn't written anything, and then then those songs started to come, and first there was two, and then there was another one, and then there was another one, and then a couple more, and it just kind of went like that over a period of a few months, and so hopefully this is going to do the same thing.
Hopefully indeed. Hopefully indeed.
Well, thanks. Yeah. So what about you? Are you recording? Are you?
Yeah. Well, at the minute I'm recording.
Gathering material.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of getting the record together. I sort of feel like I'm always getting the record together, Bruce. Or you know what I mean? I'm always getting something together. And it always changes. The goalposts always seem to change. Like I feel like anytime I get close to nailing down what the album is, something else will happen. Or something is like. Even a different drum sound. This actually happened. I had to move from my studio and I had to record. I'm recording here now instead of in my studio, and the drum sound was completely different. But it kind of then it opened up a whole. It's like okay, just because that sounds different, it brought a couple of songs out from a couple of songs that I hadn't ever finished, and a few that I had finished. But I thought were shelved started to make sense again. You know what I mean? So then you're in. I feel like I'm constantly looking for, or I'm constantly on a look for those sort of 10, if you like, that go together and you go, okay, there you go, snap, that's a record. Put that away.
Right.
I don't find it that easy to do.
So you have a home situation where you can have a studio or like have at least a suitable space for recording where you live.
Yeah, well, this is it. You're in it. You're in it. It's a room. It's a shed. It's literally a shed. I could send you a video of it being put up. It's like one wall, two wall, three. But it works, and it's I've got some decent gear in here and some imagination.
Yeah, no, I'm envious of your situation. I live in an apartment. I don't have, well, that's a choice that I've never gotten into recording gear and stuff like that because it's just always seemed to get between me and the music whenever I've tried to do that stuff on my own. Like and operate the machinery at the same time as I'm trying to do something creative. It hasn't worked very well for me, although I'm going to have to get over that now because obviously we're in a world where that's going to be the way to do it at this point. But I'm not set up like that at all.
Yeah, do you know what? I know what you mean. I did avoid it for feels like a long time, but I really did, and I did get lost. I've got to be honest. I did get lost in it. Like the second I use Logic. And the second I started using that and starting to people to teach me, okay, this is how you put compression on, this is what compression does, and this is how you bust it out the all these things that don't matter right now. All the things, I did find that for a while, like a good couple of years, I did just get lost. Anytime I sat down to record anything, instead of thinking about the song, I'd be lost in, all the shit, really. You know what I mean? This superfluous shit. Yes. I can make it sound like that. But I did find that I think I lost a lot of years doing that, but I do think now it's coming in really handy now. You know what I mean? To be able to kind of sit down and set it up and just to utilize it like an instrument. You know what I mean? To know it's not you don't need to get involved in all that shit. All you need is a microphone and a tape machine. That's what you should get.
Just I used to have a tape
straight
machine.
To tape. Have you ever considered doing like a record just you and acoustic, like one mic in a room, you and acoustic? That's it. Ever crossed your mind?
Yeah, I have actually. Well, I'm not sure if I would have thought of it in such specific terms as that, but basically, yeah, at some point, and I don't know if it'll turn out to be this, but I had this idea of doing an album of covers. So someday I want to do that because there's a lot of great songs that I'd like to hear myself sing. But and I thought that the way to do that would be solo, just voice and guitar.
Yeah.
And keep it really intimate, and
Beautiful.
This is me in a room with you singing these songs. And so once you start looking at how to pay for that, then you have to deal with other people who have other ideas, in my experience. So we'll see whether it ends up being like that if I ever get to do it. I mean, if I end up writing a bunch of new songs, then the cover album will get put off, till whatever the new songs occasion happens. So
out of interest, why? Because it's like you're an incredible musician. And if you know these songs, it means that you can put a microphone in front of you and you could sing 20 of your favorite songs as long as you know them. And I would listen to that, Bruce. Lots of us would.
you.
Lots of us would. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
why would you not just do it to do it out of interest?
Well, it just takes a little more doing than I've set up for, because I don't have the microphone.
Book in the studio.
I probably can. Yeah, I'd have to be in a proper recording space somewhere to do it, and I mean, that isn't hard to organize in normal circumstances, but the new normal, it's a little more complicated.
Yeah, right.
So we'll see, and it's a question of inertia and will and stuff like that too. How badly do we want to do this, and then the various business folks are looking at what the market will bear. Can we sell this to anybody? And because it doesn't cost much. I mean, I could easily finance an album like that myself, because it is just me. But what happens after that? Somebody has to manufacture it and make it, package it, and all that stuff. All the after the fact elements of it that are important. So, without someone being interested in doing that, it's not a very practical concept. But there.
But it'd be fun.
It'll happen one of these days. It would. Yes, absolutely.
And I would listen to it, Bruce. I can't say this enough. I would listen to it. I would buy it. Is that... Many more people do you need to buy this thing?
Well, that's one. Okay.
I'll tell a couple of my mates. Honestly, it'll spread like wildfire, I swear to God. Imagine you could choose your last meal. You know what I mean? For whatever reason, somehow we're able to kind of decide what we want to eat for starter, what we want to eat for main, and what we want to eat for dessert, and we can listen to whatever we want. What would we listen? What would you listen to, and what would you eat?
What would I listen to? Jeepers, that's the hardest part of the question.
I know.
Might be Schoenberg's Verklärte Nacht, which I think is in the spirit of this sort of thing, or it might be Japanese shakuhachi music, which would also be something pretty good to float away on.
What was it? Japanese?
But shakuhachi is the bamboo flute.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sort of the classical instrument part of the Japanese classical world, So, but it would have to go with chicken and waffles, which is what I'd want to be eating.
That's what you'd have for starters. Chicken and waffles.
Oh, that's what I'd have for my main course: chicken and waffles. I mean, you're asking me right now. This is off the top of my head right now.
Exactly. This is good. Listen,
answer.
Bruce.
An hour from now might be a different answer.
Exactly. I do this. I do this twice a week at the minute, and I've got to decide in the moment what I want, and it's always interesting to me. I'm thinking, well, what do I actually want? So chicken and waffles as a main, but you can get a starter. So what would you have for a starter? If chicken and waffles is in, you're going, okay, chicken and waffles is on the shelf. That's coming in like 20 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
And I can listen to Verklärte Nacht. I've forgotten the name of that song.
Verklärte Nacht. Yeah.
What are you going to have though for your starter?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And what are you going to listen to?
Okay.
It's an important question. We need to get to the bottom of this, Bruce.
Oh, we have to listen to something different for the starter?
Yeah, we get it. Yeah, I think a song for each course. I think.
Oh well, then in that case, it's the music I mentioned would probably go with dessert because it's the music that would be the last thing I'd hear.
Okay, well let's put that.
So, So let's see then. We got to start at the beginning here. For starters, probably egg rolls, but not the Thai sort of cooked spring roll things, the crispy ones. Some of those for starters.
Veggie or like chicken or duck?
No, the chicken or so, something in them besides veggie. If they were veggie, it'd be okay, but a little bit of hot sauce. And for music, maybe Blind Willie Johnson. Yeah, it'd be still in the mode, but more energetic and kind of good getting you
Any
going.
particular song? Or just like a...
Well, there would be if I could think of it. It wouldn't be one of them, or I learned the version I do of Soul of a Man from. He wrote that song, so that
incredible song.
My version is quite different from his. It's a great song, and the way he does it, it's quite different from me. It's much more energetic and kind of
guttural. His is like a
guttural, and it to the point of being surreal, actually. But he's got a whole lot of them like that. These sort of high energy gospel songs that so any one of them would suffice.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So you know what? For my starter, I think I'm going to match you on the maybe a Thai starter. I was in Chiang Mai once, and I had this. It was like a beef salad, but it was spicy and it had mango in it. And I'm gonna have that. I'm gonna have that as my starter, and I'm gonna listen to what would I listen to as for a starter with that? I'm tempted to go Mango off your record. But that's the one that keeps circulating. You know what? I'm gonna have that actually. I'm gonna have that. I'm gonna listen to Mango.
Great.
I'm gonna listen to Mango, and eat that. I'd be happy enough with that actually. Do you know what you yourself wrote a lyric one time that it was I saw hope among the hopeless, and that was the greatest heartbreak of all. And I think to me gospel music, like old spiritual music, like where there was no hope and yet that's what they sang of. That's gospel music. When I think of gospel music today, it feels like it puts a foul taste in my mouth. To be quite honest with you, but like I'm guessing gospel music in general was a huge inspiration to you too. I can hear it in your lyricism. I can hear it,
Well, I have a lot of songs that address spiritual issues, for want of a better way to put it, and there, I can't say, I don't know in the beginning how much of an influence it was. I remember hearing Mahalia Jackson sing live when I was a teenager, and live in a theater. She did not have any amplification. She was with a piano player and an organ player, and just the three of them, and it was incredible. And you could hear her. It was a theater in Ottawa called the Capitol Theater that I don't know what the capacity was. It was a movie theater most of the time, but they had
like a couple of hundred, like a few hundred.
It'd be more like 1,000 people probably, maybe 1,500, something like that. And you could hear her clearly. I wasn't in the front row at all. I was like well back in the room, but it was a beautiful thing.
That's wild.
So I had experiences like that, but I don't know how much of an influence it was so much because while I appreciated it and I felt the power of it, I was more interested in at that point in my life in listening to Wes Montgomery or Gabor Szabo or these other, I was interested in guitar players. Mm-hmm. The first music I heard that really made me want to be a musician was the music of Elvis Presley in his early days. So, that goes with chicken and waffles pretty well too. you know, That's All Right Mama, or Mystery Train, or you know, the Sun stuff that Elvis put out, Sun Records stuff. But you know, it's a wide range of possibilities there.
No, I'm with you on
For
that,
sure.
Bruce. You know what? I'm gonna come as the asteroid is coming in. I'm gonna come to yours, and I'm gonna sit and have chicken and waffles with you. But I wanna have some of that white butter and maple syrup and maybe some bacon and like other things. Maybe even grits. I don't even really like grits, but if the asteroid's coming, I'm gonna have some grits, and I want to listen to that Sun record, but I want to listen to the one song I want to hear over dinner is Blue Moon. Elvis's version of Blue Moon from Sun Records is just...
Yeah.
The thing is, like, if you think about the time as well, like, I have to imagine that time. You heard this as it was coming out. It must have been fucking wild.
Well, it felt wild to me. I mean, going back, it
Yeah.
all seems quite tame from the perspective of now. But
Yeah,
but,
of course.
at the time,
but at the time,
it
well,
was,
that's what gets lost.
It was rebellious. It was exciting. It was music that my age group had, that my parents didn't particularly accept. I mean, Elvis was less horrifying to them than some other of the artists at the time, but like they should be lucky I wasn't into Little Richard so much. But it they would have been challenged by that for sure. But
It's kind of wild, the reality we live in sometimes, isn't it? When you, I think this lockdown, if I'm getting anything from it, I think I'm being able to stand back and really see shit for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And when you bring up racism, and race, like, and that is and how that's evolving, like, and how that's, like, right now, this is the biggest civil rights movement since the 60s, and it's I'm hardly seeing it on TV at all.
Yeah.
Well,
you only see they only show you the stuff that they think is exciting.
Yeah.
Which is, here's some guys breaking windows. There's a woman running out of a store with a handful, an armload of stuff she's just shoplifted. I mean, you see that stuff on TV, and then actually in this country, it's fading now. But the Black Lives Matter protests, we're getting a pretty good amount of coverage.
Well, that's good.
But depending on who you're watching,
Yeah.
the coverage has an ideological slant to it, of course, and so the Fox News world is seeing chaos, anarchy, terrorism, all this bullshit. The one talent that president has is for advancing the cause of chaos. I mean, everything he says about other people, you can kind of apply to him pretty much. They're creating chaos. Well, who's really creating chaos? I mean, not looters, because there aren't that many of them. They've done some damage. That a normal police response can usually take care of that. In these circumstances, it's a little bit trickier because the cops, where they're actually trying to be empathetic, which they are in some cases, they're adopting a more hands-off approach because they don't want to. Because they realize that a lot of the protesting is about police action. So, I mean, it goes beyond that, of course. I mean, Black Lives Matter is about about police brutality, but but there's what's being protested is a much deeper and broader set of circumstances than just that, and but at the same time, you've got this. A fringe element that does just want to cause trouble, and I get that too. I mean, when I was 18, I probably would have thought causing trouble was cool, of that sort. I never got into it. I didn't want to get caught at anything. I was just too chicken, but You know,
I think outside of condoning it or
It's-
condemning it, it's you can understand it. You can
Yes.
understand
And
it. I can understand it. The president, I don't think can, because he was born rich and white and will die rich and white, you know, or rich and orange.
Yeah, and yeah, but I don't think it's even a question of understanding. I think he has an agenda, and he's not much good at doing anything that doesn't further that agenda, or saying things that don't further that agenda. All of his lies, all of his you know, what to me are idiotic interpretations of reality. All that stuff is designed to separate people from each other and to further the cause of chaos. How much intention there is behind that, I don't know. He doesn't seem smart enough to have a consistent a powerful intention like that operates consistently, but it's there regardless. I mean, you know, so this is what we deal with in the United States at the moment, and we'll be dealing with it at least for another few months. and I strongly suspect beyond that too. I don't think it's.
You reckon that's the end of it?
The trouble he started, whether he. Well, it won't be the end of it. I mean, assuming he gets unelected and he actually leaves office, which is not a given. Assuming that happens, it's going to take time to get over the damage he's done. I mean, it's on all fronts. You know, it's like people. I mean, just the idea that you can equate the word Democrat with a capital D with all sorts of evil, which his followers do, and he's encouraging this all the time, right? It's not like we're having a debate, a political debate. It's like being presented to his followers as, you know, this is evil sweeping the world and it has to be exterminated. That's the message. So here I am. Okay, you know, you're going to come and exterminate me? You know, over my dead body. But,
not before I have chicken and waffles and listen to Elvis.
Not before my chicken and waffles and my Coltrane and my Japanese flute music and Blind Willie Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy reality that we live in. So you've had, for your dessert, you had... did you pick what you were going to eat for dessert, actually? You picked the music for dessert?
I did not.
But you didn't pick what you were going to eat?
Well, I know what I would pick, but I didn't voice it. No, I would pick vanilla ice cream with chocolate sauce for dessert.
Classic.
And that would have to go with that Japanese flute music.
Yeah, well, that's
So, it's not an obvious pairing exactly, but that's what I'd have.
Is there any correlation in your mind? I only ask you because the other week I picked coconut ice cream, and I picked this. I can't remember the song I picked, but it reminded me of my granny. And then and she said, "Well, why did you pick that?" And I thought, "Well, ice cream. I used to get ice cream with my granny." And there was a connection that I didn't even think of. Do you think there's a connection between vanilla ice cream and chocolate sauce and Japanese flute music? And what is it?
I'm not sure what the connection is. I know that I grew up really appreciating vanilla ice cream with chocolate sauce, which we had probably weekly for dessert.
Big day.
My mom would make chocolate sauce out of the baking squares, you know, and it was a homemade, not a bottled chocolate sauce. And that, having grown up with that, it still calls out to me as a highly desirable way to end a meal. How it goes with Japanese flute music, I might have to wait and see on that.
Did you hear that growing up in the house
sure.
at all? Would anyone have played it or
the music? No, not that music. That came from exploring. In the early '70s, I made a point of exploring music, all the music I could find from everywhere in the world, from as many parts of the world as I could find it. And some of the music that I had was you know, you could find these things on record back then, on vinyl records, and which is all there was. And I had an album of Japanese flute music that I loved and listened to when I felt like I wanted to be in a reflective sort of mood, which is probably, it doesn't, this is the part that doesn't go with the ice cream, because ice cream is such a sensuous kind of thing to eat, any kind of dessert really. So, you know, it doesn't automatically invite a mood of reflection, which the music does. So there's a little bit of a push-pull there. But
it's okay. You can have it. You can have whatever you like.
Thank you. Yes.
Do you know what I mean? You don't...
The alternative might be. I have an album somewhere. If it didn't get stolen, a bunch of my stuff got stolen out of my car a while back. But I had an album of that's a guy playing singing bowls. Tibetan slash Nepali things, and it's beautiful, and he's got hundreds of them, and it's kind of a live performance of this guy with this, you know, like what looks like 100 singing bowls sitting on a carpet in front of him, and he's just playing this, and it has some of the same feel as the Japanese flute music. There's a lot of space in it. As much as the actual sounds, which are beautiful, are what makes up the music, a critical part of it is the holes between the sounds. And I mean, that's true in any music, but less obvious in pop music, where the general tendency is to fill all the holes with something. But in that Japanese flute music, in the gong music, and in John Coltrane for that matter, silence has a part to play. And the kind of the sense of an acoustic space that's created is a big part of it. So, you know, how ice cream fits in that.
It fits in my mind. That was more articulate than I think you know. You know, yeah, and I hear you on that with regards to the space. You know, embracing the space. It's like, you know, I think that was, you know, I think. That was before music became an advert, right? You know, that was before music became a means to something, as opposed to it is what it is. You know,
an end in itself. Yes,
dig in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But you know what? I'm actually gonna have ice cream as well, and I'm gonna have coconut ice cream, and I know what I'm gonna listen to, and it's because I'm talking to you, and talking to you reminds me of Big Ken. Like, you remember Ken Haddock, right?
Yeah.
Of course, yeah, we did that gig together, and
it was a good gig.
Yeah, it was him that first introduced me to your music, actually.
Right.
And him and I are both lovers of coconut ice cream, so I'm going to have coconut ice cream, and the song I'm going to pick another song off your was it Breakfast in Timbuktu, dinner in New Orleans, the New Orleans Timbuktu.
Breakfast in New Orleans, dinner in Timbuktu.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I knew I was getting it wrong.
Yeah.
That's the one with mango on it. I've already picked mango from a starter, and then a wee bit of Elvis, along with you, with chicken and waffles from a main, and then from a dessert I'm going to have coconut ice cream, and I'm going to listen to a song that Ken played me one night. Him and I used to do gigs like about 4 or 5 a week at one point. Right. But then he would do. I would go away, and he'd take my PA. And I come back one night, we were driving home, we got up to my door after the gig, and he said, "Hey man, thanks for lending me the PA for the week there when you're away. I appreciate that. Mine was bust or whatever it was." And I said, "That's all good, man. Isn't that what friends are for?" And he looked at me in that way that Ken can look at people, you know, just like right into your soul. And he said, "Sit you right there." Sit you right there. And he wouldn't let me get out of the car, and he dug out Breakfast in New Orleans, dinner in Timbuktu, and he put on "Isn't That What Friends Are For?" and he made me sit in silence, as he often did when he wanted me to hear something. I was like, "Right, shut up, sit there and listen to this." And that was one of those moments. So the first song that I ever heard of yours was actually "Isn't That What Friends Are For?" I had to then go back and dig back, and you know, and so I would listen to that, and that I'd be happy with that.
Well, that's a compliment. I haven't played that song for a long time, but I think of it as one that feels pretty good to have written. You know, so.
Oh, it's a beauty. It's a beauty.
nice to hear.
And then the asteroid just comes, and we're out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's an interesting thing to think about, eh? Like everybody going at once, sort of.
If we're lucky.
Like one thing to have us dropping off in bits, but all going at once is, you kind of wonder, that's a lot of energy to be released into the universe.
Right.
So,
Imagine the other universes it would start, Bruce.
well, there's that. That's another
This
conversation.
could really be the beginning of something. I know we're having dessert. Maybe we're going to have another meal. Bruce, listen.
Well, at least an after dinner drink.
I'd love that. Hey, listen.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time, Bruce. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for inviting me. It's been great.
It's been incredible
Nice to
to talk.
to you. Nice to see you, however distant.
I know. And listen, if ever this stuff gets back to normal and you feel like coming to Scotland, if as and when that's ever a possibility, there's a studio here for you that you can have free of charge for as long as you like. Bed and room and everything. I'll even throw in breakfast. It's you. I'll throw in breakfast.